Welcome. And the question today from Bartertown Beer is, what is the fastest you have ever seen a new coworker get fired? Hi, this is Derek. I just put the Drama Llama, Fred, back in his llama pen, so that I can do this quick video for you with some of the stuff that Fred found on Reddit earlier today. Oh boy, let's get ready for some drama. 123 ABCDE answered with. During their onboarding training, they stole my boss's wallet on camera. 1 hour in. Did the boss recover the wallet? Sorry, didn't realize this blew up. Let me explain the whole story. So I was working retail and we all got hired at the same time. It was about 5 of us. We were doing our first day onboarding, basically showing us the store layout, etc. We got dismissed for our lunch break, and when we got back my boss was frantically searching the office and break room. When we all got back, she told us that her new, very expensive, wallet was missing. We all help her look for it and nothing comes up. She then decides to look at the cameras that we have all over the store and stock room/break room. Well, turns out one of the new hires walked into the manager's office and just reached it and grabbed it. Honestly, the office was never locked, so it was super easy to walk in when no one was around. She had stolen the wallet, taken the cash, and continued to work like nothing happened. Even pretended to look for the wallet with us. My boss ended up calling mall security and the cops. She was fired and charged. Fast Hand 84 answered with. New guy drove a forklift into a fire hydrant, in front of a safety rep for the company. His supervisor was called over, and he immediately tells the supervisor that he won't pass a piss test, as he used his only bottle of clean piss earlier that day when he hired him. Everybody standing there immediately burst into laughter, which continued as security, also laughing, escorted him off site. Even the supervisor was all smiles. Just gave him a pat on the back and wished him the best of luck. It was wild. Layla Pamplemousse answered with. I worked in a bar and a new girl started. At work, she seemed a little rough but was fine. One day she finished a shift, sat at the bar and ordered a red wine with lemonade and ice in it, not really relevant to the story, just shows she is clearly insane. Her boyfriend came in, they had a huge domestic in front of my manager and several customers, and she threw her drink over her BF and dramatically stormed out. New bar drink? Wine plus lemonade equals a domestic. Art Perfect 7076 answered with. Heard this from a manager I worked with when I worked in fast food. There was this one kid who didn't show up for work. He ditched work often, so the manager called around, couldn't get anyone to fill in his shift, so she had to fill it for him. A few hours into his shift, the dude ditching shows up, with his friends, and orders food from that manager. She fired him on the spot. Congratulations, you've been promoted to a customer. Ninth Reaver answered with. First day of work, he walks in, says, what the F is up? Dumb butt. To the guy that parked next to. Didn't touch his new Camaro he bought since he got hired. The guy was the CEO of the company I used to work for, on a visit to our branch. Literally 10 minutes into his shift he was signing release papers. Dandad 1218 answered with. I work construction. We had 2 new hires that were friends starting the same day. Boss told one take a coffee order and come back. Took everyone's money and said he needed his friend to go with him cause it was a big order. They never came back. They quit a construction job to steal, and split, the cash from a few coffee orders. I imagine if they had stayed and worked a full day they would have earned more than that. Lamau. Somehow I just have to respect the laziness. If you're that dedicated to something, anything, even being lazy, I just can't help but respect it on some level. Professor Glock answered with. Worked in a grocery store for a while. New guy took a lobster out of the tank and removed the elastic bands on its claws. Then proceeded to put it back in the tank. The thing murdered all the other lobsters in the tank. I was halfway expecting a theft attempt by putting said live and free lobster down his pants. Imagine the horror those lobsters felt in their dying moments. All of them restrained while being chopped through one by one. Teren Nash answered with, corporate chain restaurant, new server, aged mid-30s. Third day he was working, we had to fire him mid-shift. Why? The dude went into the public restrooms, with other guests clearly in there using the urinal, and started doing lines of blow off on the edge of the sink. Why not just do it in the back with the cooking staff like everyone else? Lost Access answered with, new director starts at lunchtime, goes to the cafeteria, pays for the first salad plate, by weight. Then goes back twice for refills without paying. Cafeteria has cameras, and the cafeteria manager talks to the partner in charge. New director was fired before the end of day. Director? I would assume a director level position would be paid enough to buy his own lunch salad. You'd be amazed how many financially well-off people are also immoral cheapskates even for petty things. Friend of mine's uncle owns a multi-million-dollar business and brags about how he cheats the self-checkout at grocery stores. And it doesn't even have to be stealing. My boss has made fun of me for not being able to afford lunch. And chewed me out when I asked why they took away our cell phone allowance. I use my phone, laptop, and camera all day, all personally bought. He made it seem like a few extra bucks a day was no big deal, when it was for me at the time. Easy for him to say when the company pays for his car insurance, full health insurance, gas, lunches, office snacks, entire cell phone plan. Including multiple tablets for his family members, and more. Like, yeah, I'd be eating lunch if I made $500,000 a year and didn't have to pay for some rather large expenses too. Jeff the nurse answered with, as a teenager, I worked at a bowling alley. Within an hour, a new girl was fired on the spot for dropping a ball on the foot of a complaining patron. Fired on her first strike. House at 261 Turner Lane answered with, 4 or so hours. When I was 18 I got a job at a grocery store, along with 3 others. We all started training together. On the first day we were training in the evening. And one girl asked to go home. She said her head hurt. They said fine, she clocked out, went to grab a grocery cart and started filling it with beer and liquor. The store manager walked over and asked her if she was having a party. She said yes. Didn't even try to come up with an excuse. Just, yeah, I am, so I needed to leave early on my first day. Basically. He fired her. Do I still get the employee discount? Sure, but since you're no longer an employee it'll get reversed. Plus 10%. Reminds me of a housekeeper who called in sick one day saying he had a headache. Showed up an hour later with his girlfriend to go swimming in the pool. Asked him what he was doing there and he says he felt better so decided to come in for a swim. Fired him on the spot. Excited one answered with, guy slept through 2 meetings on his first day. The second meeting he started snoring. 90% of meetings should be spent sleeping, to be honest. Squeeness answered with, he didn't show up the first day, second day, or third day. I had to work a double shift for 3 days straight. Not fun. I answered the phone when he finally called in on the 4th day. He said, I'm going to be honest with you, I've been in Orlando. My parents paid for a small vacation as a reward for getting the job. Would it be okay to start next week instead of this week? What better way to celebrate the end of unemployment than taking a little break from work? I worked at a hotel. A good housekeeper got her cousin hired so they had a party. Cousin was found asleep in a bed on her first day, fired instantly. Took me a second to realize it was a bed at the hotel and not her bed. Just a average dude answered with, guy got hired, went through training and all that jazz. First day on the floor, he disappeared for 3 hours and then came back high as F on like meth or something. A manager found him in the bathroom aisle, staring at himself in the mirror. Said manager looked at the cameras after firing him. The guy was there staring at himself for at least 30 plus minutes. Edit to clear up some questions. I worked at Home Depot. He was in the aisle where we sell bathroom countertops and medicine cabinets. We also have mirrors in this aisle, and that's where he was. Not in the bathroom, haha. Revolutionaire Oil 897 answered with 3 hours into the first shift. Guy lost it serving an annoying customer in a grocery shop, throwing cabbage at her. The manager came and told him to go home cause he finished there. He wasn't surprised. I was standing next to him. It was an entertaining day. Did she deserve the cabbage? As a grocery store employee, they all deserve the cabbage. Danth Alcedo answered with co-worker, smoked like every 40 minutes for like 10 minutes. Then asked the boss if he could leave an hour early because he didn't take his lunch break. As my boss said, sure you can, but you don't need to come back. Ed Ruck answered with I hired a guy to work for me as a quality inspector for merchandise headed to Walmart and Target. He bragged about everything he stole from his last job during training and how they paid him more than I did. Well, I'm not holding him back from all that money, so I had some big guys escort him off the property. This is where the line, when somebody tells you who they are, believe them, comes in. I don't have a fancy job, but I work in food service. We hired a high schooler, and in their first week they bragged to me about plagiarizing. Turns out, they had the most interesting life ever because they wound up calling off or leaving early a bunch of times after that. Their parents came in one day. And I was so close to asking them about all the emergencies that had been going on, but decided against it. I knew she was lying. She probably knew that I knew she was a liar. And their parents were being nice enough that it didn't seem worth it. Zippy Boy answered with I was fired on my second day as a line cook at a Mitzel's restaurant in Washington State back in the 90s. Turns out I was hired just to threaten the job security of a longtime line cook with an attitude problem. To keep him in line. He got the message and apologized to the manager. And I was fired for breaking a yolk when flipping fried eggs one time. I'd been a line cook for a few years by then and thought I was doing pretty good. I was taken out the back door and terminated on day 2. Edit, this really seems to be blowing up. Happened in Oak Harbor back in the mid-1990s. So yes, I did find another job since then. I was pissed, but got over it quickly. Cooking for a living was hard work. Standing in a hot kitchen for 10 hours at a time, going home splattered with grease. Getting yelled at by wait staff and management. I don't do it anymore. Thanks for all the hugs awards, guys. This is an obscure HR technique I have seen a few times. Back in the Vietnam War, the boot camp recruits were mostly drafted. And had an attitude. A young experienced soldier pretended to be a recruit, and was talking poop on the entire bus ride. F poop. Offloaded at boot camp, and the first day he tells the drill sergeant to F off, then when sergeant gets in his face, guy pushes him away. Sergeant acts like he is kicking the poop out of him, magazines taped to stomach inside uniform, and recruits bites onto ketchup packet so red stuff oozes from mouth. As units are ordered to march away, other SGTS come over and act like 3-on-1 beatdown. When asked, Sergeant says Recruit X was never here. Need 5 guys for a job. Hire 6 and fire 1 the first day. F them anyway. They could have found a more graceful way of getting that guy in line instead of hiring and firing an unsuspecting dude that just wants a job. And finally, the Telltale Heart answered with guy had been working a few days at a barn. Decided to smoke right by bales of hay. The manager saw him and fired him right on the spot. At farms, you don't F around with fire. Well, there you have it. A perfectly great question answered by a bunch of fine and honorable citizens. Help support this channel by smashing the like and subscribe buttons. And hit that silly little bell as well to ensure you get the latest videos as they come out. Fred is always finding stuff for me to post regularly. So this is Derek signing off. Thanks for watching. Good grief, it sounds like Fred is out of his pen again. I think he found more drama for me to share with you. See you soon.